What's up, everybody? We have a special cartoon dumpster dive episode for you today. We are going to rate, or rather put in a tier list, all the cartoons we could think of that were made by comedians. And to help us do it, we brought in a stand-up comedian named Kurt Ryan. Kurt, how are you today?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I'm always so surprised when somebody's like, "Sure, I'll come on." I'm like, "You're going to take time out of your day to do this?"
Well, you know what helps with being able to get podcast guests is just make sure they don't have a life. And usually,
yeah. I guess I'll have to remember that for our next guest.
You have anybody that loves you, and are you free to podcast on Tuesday?
Yeah, that's Andrew, a good point.
Apparently, we've been going at this all wrong.
I know we've been asking like people who are busy, but yeah. So, if you are subscribed to the Patreon, you get to see our beautiful faces and the tier list and what we're covering. If you don't, we will describe it to you as best we can. So it's your typical meme tier list, S, A, B, C, and D rank.
Oh man,
and we have
to like F and everything.
No, D is fine. Okay, no cartoon is truly an F. Well, one of them might be, but I didn't put F on here, and I'm not going back and doing it now. God damn it. So the worst they can do is D. So I figured we would, and all of these we'll cover later. I just thought it'd be fun to do a tier list.
Yeah. Now I would. Now, Kurt, you being the comic here, are there any of these shows that maybe you grew up with, anything like that?
I grew up definitely watching Life with Louie. I remember that.
Good one. Okay.
Because I found Louie Anderson's voice to be very interesting. And then I really just knew the cartoon and that he hosted a game show.
Family Feud.
Family Feud. Yeah, that I knew him from those things. I didn't really know much about his stand-up, but then I learned about he had a very dark upbringing and actually I think his stand-up's it's very underrated. I went when he died, I went back and watched a lot of his stand-up, and it's not a self-deprecating fat jokes, but I feel like he was like a comic because he actually helped a lot of young comedians out too. So I have a lot of respect for him as a guy.
I always said we can just start with Life with Louie, by the way. But I always said that if he were still alive today, I would love a realer Live with Louie, because obviously it was a kid show, so they had to tone down what actually happened with Louie Anderson in his childhood. But I would loved an adult Life with Louie, but Louie's still a kid, but his father's like a raging alcoholic. I remember
at the time, you didn't get gritty animated shows like that. I feel like nowadays, with Netflix and with one of these cartoons like F is for Family on Netflix, I feel like Louie Anderson could have easily done a gritty Netflix animated show about his abuse of alcohol.
He has that one video. I can't remember. It's some comedy club where they go and they turn a strip club into a stage, and he talks about his dad getting wasted at the Moose Lodge, and his trick was to drag his kids to get cheap oil, and then his mom was like, "You're just gonna go get drunk at the Moose Lodge," and he's like, I'm not gonna do that, and then Louie's like, and of course we immediately went to the Moose Lodge, and I'm just like, I would love to see that, but with the Life of Louie animation design. But as a cartoon itself, it's consistently funny, even when we went back and watched it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember Bobby's World too with Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Because I think they were both Fox Kids shows, right? I remember Yeah, and Bobby's World. It's a show that I remember when I was a kid, but I couldn't tell you what it's about. I don't remember much about it. I think the plot is like he he brings things to life with his imagination or
Yeah, he's
something
just
like
an
that.
imaginative kid.
Yeah. So like,
He had
but I
ADD before
yeah I
it
don't
was
like remember any
real.
episode from it. Really. And Shorty's watching Shorty's, I remember because that was around the time like where Comedy Central had stuff like Tough Crowd and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a big Patrice O'Neill fan. He's probably like my second favorite comedian of all time. And him and Nick DiPaolo voicing babies is hilarious to me.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, Shorty's watching Shorty's. I vaguely remember that one. And I remember enjoying it when I could get access to Comedy Central and watch it.
Yeah.
Growing up.
That's the hardest part. Growing
One cool
up as
thing
a
it did-
millennial.
Yeah, one cool thing it did was it like animated a bunch of comedian stand-up bits like on the TV and stuff. So you'd see like the name of the comedian, and then it'd be like an animated version of a stand-up bit they did, maybe on their Comedy Central Presents or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That one's kind of cheating of why we put it on here, but I figured it was a cartoon and it had comedians in it. I might as well try to put it on there. So I guess we can start this off. So Life with Louie. I feel like we could have this one. I feel like this one is an S or an A tier. You know what I mean? Like, because it was consistently funny. You actually had Louis show up. He did the voice.
Yeah.
He did a lot of voices in
He
this.
did his dad's voice in that.
Yeah, he did
one
his
too,
dad's
right?
voice, and he did several other characters. So yeah, it's one of the few times where a stand-up comedian is like flexing his voice work off the stage, and it's just
Yeah, and I feel like it doesn't quite get the darkness of him, but I feel like there's enough of it in there where it's like you can tell like it's his vision, the show.
yeah, just like a kid-friendly version of hey, you think your life was hard? You know, look what I had to go through. So
Yeah.
It is probably the best example of them taking what is more a adult focused I guess routine and toning it down for kids to digest. I think they probably
his
did
dad,
the best
the way
job.
he voiced and acted his dad was definitely a drunk. Like, they don't go out and say it, and they don't go out and show him drinking beer, but he's always like mumbling to himself, and always like
Yeah,
just he's always got like an attitude about him. And like, if you know a drunk, like a guy who's drunk like 24/7, you're like, that guy's an alcoholic.
Yeah, and I don't know what it says about me, but I would watch that and feel at home.
So what do you say, guys? We're gonna go S tier with Life with Louie.
I think so. I think it's earned it.
Okay,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree with that. I think it is top notch. You can go back to this day and still find enjoyment from it.
So with I guess the next one, we'll just keep going down the list as they fall. So the next one is Bobby's World. And I know that Howie Mandel actually has a bit in his stand-up, like this long, like 5-minute bit about how Bobby and Gizmo from Gremlins are the same voice. And his biggest bragging right in the history of his career is how much money he made just using the Bobby voice for two shows. And that was it. So that one alone kind of bumps it up for me.
Yeah, and I feel like Howie Mandel. I don't hate Howie Mandel. Like, I actually think his podcast is very good, and he's a very interesting guy. But I think for me, all he's really memorable for me was when he put the rubber glove on his head.
Oh yeah, that was Howie Mandel. You always forget. I feel like what everyone remembers him now for me is like America's Got Talent. He's
That's fair. That's fair.
like
Yeah.
he's been and like he used to have hair. I remember that, but it's been so long since he's had hair. I don't remember what that looks like, but I do know he had the 90s mullet in his in Bobby's World because he
And,
showed up as himself at the beginning and he would talk to Bobby and Bobby would be like, I'm not gonna do some bullshit and then jump off and do his imagination land.
I don't. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say Howie Mandel for me. I didn't even know he was a stand-up comic.
Yeah, see?
I knew Howie Mandel as the Deal or No Deal guy.
That's a good point. I forgot he was on Deal or No Deal.
I remember when he was on America's Got Talent, like when he first became a judge, I was just like, oh, it's just the Deal or No Deal guy. That's it.
That's funny.
Yeah. He was also in a movie with Fred Savage called Little Monsters. I remember watching as a kid.
I remember Little Monsters. I do too. I back at Bobby's World, I will say that his name is Tino Anicia. He plays Uncle Ted, who's like my favorite character of that entire show. He's just like, hey there, Bobo, because everybody's got like that Michigan or Midwestern talk, like because his mom is always pregnant. She's like, "Don't you know?" and shit like that, which is always just funny.
Yeah, but Bobby's World, I feel like is not. It's a show I remember existing when I was a kid, but I couldn't like tell you specific things about it because it's not very memorable to me.
No, it's definitely like a B or an A tier.
I would say B because I think it's one of those cartoons that if you showed a picture of Bobby to most people will be like, it looks very familiar. I've seen this before, but they might not be able to tell you the name.
That's why it's perfect for our show because we specialize in that brand of animation. Like, what the fuck is that? I watched that. But yeah, I feel like Bobby's World is about a B tier. So let's put him B for Bobby. I made that joke earlier. So, listener, you heard that twice.
It's not like shitty enough. Because weirdly enough, it's not memorable enough to be seen as so shitty. Like, I feel like a C in the
so shitty.
Where you're like, well, it's shitty enough to remember. It deserves to be in the D tier. Where it's like a B tier is like it's fine maybe, but I don't really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I remember it having like vaguely solid animation when he does anything in his imagination, and then absolutely zero effort on the normal parts of the show. It just so
it does represent Howie Mandel, though. I feel like probably, so it's not really him playing like his life.
Yeah, it's not him being him.
Like Life with Louie. That's why I feel like Life with Louie gets the edge over a show like Bobby's World to me because it's like I kind of like that he took like his act and made like a child's cartoon out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was very relatable.
Yeah, that's true. It did have that relatable nature. Bobby tried it, but it didn't really work out.
Unless you have like ADD or something, you're probably not connecting with Bobby's World that much.
No, I think you're right there. So next we got Camp Candy. So Camp Candy was also a comic book as well, and John Candy did voice it, but it's John Candy. He runs a summer camp. It has one of the strangest theme songs of all time.
Makes no sense.
It's just it's like all this stuff you can do at Camp Candy, but it crescendos at Camp Candy. You're watching, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, this is bottom. This is deep.
You think it's the bottom?
Dude, this show sucks.
It's not very well made.
It's a
I would
product-
say it was C just because it has John Candy in it. But
Yeah, because I was gonna say I love John Candy so much that it would feel like I'd be like, I can't put Uncle Buck in the D tier.
yeah, it's so hard for me to
Like,
like
the cartoon,
not.
I looked up an episode of it because I was like, I love John Candy and I had never seen this before I was asked to do this. And then I was like, oh man, this is the cartoon they make John Candy do.
Look,
It's definitely has the taste of a contractual obligation to make a cartoon, and he definitely didn't want to do this. It shows. Unfortunately, it shows. I just can't in my heart give John Candy a D
Look,
tier,
that
even
is
with
why,
this.
Look, that's why I am so okay with giving it a D tier, because this is not John Candy's cartoon. This is a cartoon some giant corporations made to sell more products, more merchandise. And they just thought, hey, John Candy's big at this point. He just got done with Uncle Buck.
Yeah.
Let's give him a cartoon. But it is terrible.
Oof. There's a lot of
Everything about
passion
this-
in Joel's D tier, and Kurt and I aren't really selling why he should belong. Our only argument for C tier is it's John Candy, and that's it.
John Candy's a national treasure to us, you know.
Yeah. But I guess
he
nobody
got-
bats 1,000, so we're gonna have to throw this guy in the D
I mean, John
tier.
Candy did get Catherine O'Hara home in time to, save Kevin from being home
That's
alone.
true.
Yeah, John Candy would probably even be like, just put it in the D tier.
Just
I
put
don't
in the
care.
D tier.
He probably hated it himself.
Yeah,
honestly.
he was like, it deserves the D tier. Yeah, nice John Candy impression, Andrew. Jesus Christ.
I thought
Hey.
they didn't try this again with like Chris Farley, Camp
They-
Farley.
Camp Farley?
Yeah,
Whoa,
like-
that would be great.
The animation doesn't even look like
Whatever.
John
I probably
Candy.
would've-
No, it doesn't look like John Candy. That's a very good point. It looks like a Flintstones kind of guy or whatever.
What network did this come on?
I want to say it was CBS. I didn't really look too hard at where these. Oh, it was a Fox Kids show. It came out in '89. So
It's like
Not-
giving comedians cartoons like for kids.
Yeah,
to
oh,
watch,
yeah.
and this is like this is one that I thought I would have seen it because I'm a massive John Candy fan, but then like I was like he had a cartoon, and then I watch it and you're like, oh man, you can tell well John Hughes didn't write on this, that's for
Yeah.
darn sure.
yeah. So our next cartoon is Where the Dog's At. It, I almost don't count this because it's Jeffrey Ross as a dog who's trying to find his master, who's a little boy in New Jersey. It tries really, really, really hard to be South Park.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, and it doesn't succeed. It does have Tracy Morgan in it as well as another dog named Woof. It has very topical jokes, but the animation is kind of more expensive than South Park, so it's more delayed. It's the same problem that The Simpsons has versus South Park, or Family Guy versus South Park. South Park can make their episode the week of. So a week can happen, they make the episode. But with The Simpsons and Family Guy, they have to go ship their shit off to Korea and make a whole season and what have you.
Yeah.
So like by the time it's ever come out, it's like it's been a month. It's been 4 months even.
Yeah, and I
Just-
feel like Jeffrey Ross is a specific comedy taste where it's because it's roasting. That's like what he's
Yeah.
bread and butter. I feel like when sometimes you put him in other stuff where it's outside of that format, and it's not that he's like unfunny or anything. It's just like I feel like that's his strong suit, and something like this is just kind of like it's mediocre at best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I would say I would call this one C tier more than D tier, just
Yeah.
in the fact that it's not animated great. It's a Flash animation show, so it's not like perfect. But if you do go back and watch it, it is actually pretty funny. Like they have some pretty solid jokes in there. Jeffrey Ross is known for his roast stuff because of the Comedy Central roast, but back before that, I mean, he was like a pretty okay comedian with his like
Yeah.
pre-roast material. I could not tell you what it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
all of
me,
his memorable stuff is from those roasts.
yeah.
Every single one
To
of them.
me, he always seemed like a guy who wanted to be like Don Rickles. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's definitely trying. Like he's Don Rickles without any charm. I feel like it's a safe way to say that. I mean,
Yeah, he's
there's
like-
nothing against him. Like it's just like Don Rickles had a subtlety to where when he made fun of you, you didn't feel insulted. You felt an honor. You look at some of the people that Don Rickles has made fun of; they're laughing their asses off, even though
You know
they're the
Don
joke. And Jeffrey Ross doesn't really have that. I don't want to say suaveness, but I don't know. He's just so much more abrasive. He gets it like when Jeffrey Ross insults you, the reaction is ooh from the audience members, like, oh man, he fucking got you good. It's a way less lighthearted, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, I feel like Don Rickles. He has like that old guy charm where
Yeah.
where it's like I don't know why it just makes it more. Yeah, it makes you're like you want him to insult.
Yeah,
It's like
it's like being made fun of by your grandpa.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a reason Jeffrey Ross didn't get to be Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Ross, he kind of has this is going to sound like I'm insulting the guy, but I'm just saying he kind of has like lifeless eyes. So like,
I
feel
could
like
see
you're
that.
being verbally assaulted by a sociopath or something, but
That's a really good point. That's true. Like you're kind of nervous.
and that's not putting him down. I mean, he's good at it. I'm just saying he comes across that way, so it's not as enjoyable as a Rickles, but he's still pretty solid at what he does. But yeah, this cartoon to me is like it's like you said. I think it's a C tier show because like I kind of remember it, but not really. But like I think it seems like a show. Tracy Morgan as a dog, voicing a cartoon dog is just hilarious.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
that
definitely got the voice of himself, like of a cartoon dog. You know,
yeah. I
like
feel like
if
just alone that's like if he was the lead character. No offense, you take Jeffrey Ross out and just make it Tracy Morgan. I feel like it'd be a better show.
oh yeah, that's definitely a better show right there. So knock off trying it too hard to be a South Park. Mediocre animation, and then Jeffrey Ross just not doing what he needs to do. Let's throw this guy in the C tier. This next one is it's really going for it. So the image is a little blocky, but this is Rick Moranis in Gravedale High.
Ooh.
Talk about a show that's going for something that it has no clue what it's going for.
And again, it's like a John Candy thing where you're like,
Yeah.
I love Rick Moranis.
Like this show was made in 1990. 1990, and it's just like there's no reason Rick Moranis needs to be in here, and his character looks I feel like they tried, but he does not look like he looks like Rick Moranis if he had a curly pompadour. And
Yeah.
another thing that kind of is like if you really want to watch a guy teach a bunch of monsters school, you're gonna watch the Shaggy one, the Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School. You're not gonna watch this.
Yeah. No, this is just like Camp Candy. Whoa, it was just, hey, let's get some big popular comic name to come in and do the voice of this cartoon because he will be popular enough to get sales.
Yeah, he'll be.
immediately
Yeah,
go
so
off.
we can. It's
This-
almost
this
the
is-
opposite of what we would call a Reagan show, which is a show made to sell merchandise. This is a show to get kids to watch it and their parents so they can play commercials so they can go buy that shit.
Yeah.
This is a show made for ad space. I will say though, Jackie Earl Haley's in it, so it's got Darth Maul before Darth Maul, but it does have him.
Yeah, I
But-
would just put this one right in the D tier.
Oh yeah,
You know what?
this is a
John-
D tier.
John Candy and Mick Rick Moranis, is that how you
Yeah, Rick
Yeah.
Moranis. It's weird
they
when
can hang out.
when they make these.
With like SCTV cast members cartoons, like Eugene Levy probably told him no.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like these guys. These are like the highlight of their careers. 89 and 90, they're blowing the fuck up. It's
Yeah,
They're
John
not hurting
Candy
for money.
He was in Uncle Buck. I think Rick Moranis had just done like the first Honey I Shrunk the Kids or something
yeah.
around this time. So like, yeah, they were like they could have done anything they wanted, like pretty much. And then it seems like they're like, okay, you have to do a cartoon that your heart's not really in. What do
Yeah.
you say?
You just got to do this weird cartoon.
Their agent was like, look, I need more money, so I've signed you up for this.
It definitely seems like it was snuck in. They're like, all right, you ready to go on set for the cartoon? I'm like, what cartoon? The cartoon you agreed to when you did Honey I Shrunk the Kid. Like, what the fuck? No, I don't want to do that. But
To
yeah,
me,
it's
It
very
the way
very passionless cartoons in the,
The
D
way-
tier. So
the way I see it is you take stand-up comics who have this freedom to basically say, joke about whatever they want, things that are on their mind, whatever it is, and then you pigeonhole them. You tell them,
Yeah.
hey, you gotta tone it down. You gotta be, G or whatever. Like you can't swear, you can't do your jokes. We're gonna write your jokes. You're just the voice.
yeah,
It's never gonna be a good time.
No, and I think that's why when we put Louis in the S tier, he was a writer on the show. He was in control of everything basically.
It was basically his life.
Yeah,
through
he
a
was
cartoon through
Yeah.
his eyes and humor, toned down for kids, but
Yeah.
it worked.
yep, way better than this one.
And you
You
can
think
hear
that guy who punched Rick Moranis in New York he did that over Gravedale High? Like he was like, "There's that motherfucker."
Yeah, and Life with Louie, you can tell he's giving his all with the voice acting and like you can tell like you can tell he's like he had a lot of creative control where it's like Rick Moranis was pretty much almost metaphorically held at gunpoint to do this.
His agent-
Maybe actually it was the 90s. Those producers were a lot more coked up back then.
his-
Fox Kids
Yeah.
were like night of the coke bender, and they were like, "What if John Candy ran a summer camp?"
all this production companies, they was just hiring Suge Knight to go shake down all these
to do the
comedians.
shake down. Open up, motherfucker.
You're gonna do this show.
So this one on our tier list is the most modern. Ironically, it's set in the 70s, but it's the most recurrent in all of our list. It's Bill Burr's F is for Family, where he plays his dad, Frank Murphy, but himself as a kid, Bill, is actually in the movie. Not movie, show. Jesus. I love this show. This show is great. This is kind of what the edgy Life of Louie would be.
It's definitely it's Bill. It has Bill Burr written all over it, and to me, I think Bill Burr voicing like a father like that is just perfect. It just I'll be honest, I kind of fell off with watching the show, but I really did love like the first 2 seasons of it. You know what I mean? And you also have like Justin Long doing a voice, and I think like Sam Rockwell or something like voices his neighbor, and it's just like a really good voice cast.
Yeah, he definitely got a solid voice cast for it. You jumping off at season 2, you said that's fair. It does get weaker. I can't remember which season has his dad show up, like his terrible father. That's a pretty good parallel. You get to learn a lot more about Frank and like why he's the way he is. For the most part, it's definitely, I would say it's an S tier. It's animated very well. The jokes land very well. They handle a lot of topics that you normally wouldn't see on a like funny show. Like they handle a lot of race issues, and they handle them pretty well for the most part.
To me, it feels like an edgier, like Fox cartoon.
Yeah, that's a really good. Yeah. This would come if this were in the 90s to 2000 eras before we had streaming. This would definitely be one of the animation domination cartoons that would have gotten immediately canceled.
Yeah,
like so many that we've seen.
But it have like a cult. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it would come back. It would have a Futurama like resurgence. And if it was anything like Futurama, it would get weaker with every iteration.
Yeah, that's what sucks. Is like
take that, Matt Groening.
Yeah, it's that's why you're almost better off if you just let the show have whatever legacy it has, and don't ruin it.
And I feel like F is for Family did end, and it ran its course. I think it's 4 or 5 seasons. I've watched them all. I loved them, and I do believe that it's the stronger of the 2 adult animated shows on Netflix. The other one is Big Mouth, but I don't know.
Big Mouth is it's one of those shows where someone tells me they like Big Mouth, I almost want to see if they're a registered sex offender.
Yeah, it's a side eye show.
It's weird.
I've watched a few. I've watched it a few times, but after a while, you're just like, this is weird. You shouldn't have this on any streaming service.
I think it's like we get it. Teenagers masturbate. We got it. We've already known this forever.
I remember watching the first season and enjoying the first season because I feel like they had other story arcs than just focused about sex. But then it just became this hormonal pubescent, like just focus about masturbation jokes and sex jokes.
Here you go. Big Mouth's the one F tier we got on here. And we won't even show it.
F for Family, 100% S tier. I mean, this is modern day where they realize that people just want good stories, especially if you've got a comic involved. Just let them do their thing. Let them kind of drive the story. Let them kind of just, come up with the lines. Let them just get into that character, and it will be fantastic.
And Bill Burr does other voices in the show. I mean, he doesn't have range. You definitely can tell when it's him. Like the preacher is voiced by him, and there's several other characters I don't remember. But it's like when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's Bill Burr trying to do an impression of someone else. But it's not a strong point.
Yeah, and let's be honest. I always say I'll put you through the fucking wall.
Oh yeah, I use that. I'm gonna put you through that fucking wall. The best line in that whole series to me is where the older son's outside and Frank's like, I'm gonna put you through that wall. And he goes, what wall? We're outside. He goes, I will come outside, build a wall, and then I will fucking put you through it.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
I feel like in the 70s, you didn't have all this stuff where, like, it's almost like they weren't aware their kids had feelings yet. So they're
Oh,
like,
no.
I have to yell at them so they know. So they just stop doing what I don't want them to do.
In the 70s, you could hit someone else's kid and not get in trouble. Like, you could be like, quit being an asshole. And then he'd go and cry to his dad. And he'd be like, well, what'd you do? He said, stop being an asshole. And then the dad'd be like, well, then you should probably stop being an asshole then. Get out of here.
A family you would be out in a public place, and a
Oh,
family
yeah.
would just lay the ass whooping of a child's lifetime in public, and everyone around them wouldn't miss a beat.
It
They would
wasn't
just
bad
be like-
nine.
They would just be
Yeah,
like, you know what? That kid deserved it.
Somebody needs to learn how to behave in the grocery store.
I also feel like the F is for family is pretty much, it's almost like if All in the Family. It's kind of like that. It's like that kind of vibe, just if it was like a cartoon.
Yeah, that's a good
That's-
point. That's a really good point, actually.
Kind of an Archie Bunker. He's less racist. You know what I mean?
Well, that's not hard to do, to be less racist than Archie Bunker, but
It's just a less. He's if Archie Bunker was okay with black people. That's
yeah, that's very true. That's a good point. So our next one on the list is Little Rosie. This show automatically gets a D tier for one reason. Roseanne, or Rosie O'Donnell, could not even... No, it is Roseanne.
No, Roseanne Boy, yeah.
Yeah, Roseanne Barr. She could not even be bothered to voice herself in the show. Are you kidding me? You're not even going to show up?
Oh my god! Yeah,
Like, I almost want to
Yeah,
move Candy and Rick Moranis Gravedale High up to C tier just because they had the decency to, like, show the fuck up.
yeah, but this kind of makes me not respect, but it makes me go like, Roseanne Barr was like, at least she was like, I don't want to do this cartoon. Like,
That's
wasn't-
also true. No,
This-
you can use my
crap-
name all you want. I'm not coming in.
yeah,
That
just
is
get-
another way to look at it. I never thought of it that way.
For a fat lady to do it. You know what I mean?
Just get someone who sounds fat. It's fine. And this was the 90s, and it was still okay to make fun of fat people.
Yeah,
So-
no,
I
that,
like
that
Billy.
belonged.
Doing her voice.
Yeah.
Like, just get Billy West. He can do any voice.
Yeah,
does
he
Roseanne.
can do any voice. They got Kathleen Lexie to do it. This show is also a D tier just because it doesn't have many episodes. It has 12. It's one of the worst rated shows of all time. It did not do well with anything.
Did she even write on it or like create?
Oh
it,
no,
or
she used her name and that was it.
could use your name. And she's like, okay, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's weak.
But yeah, we can just leave it at that.
Yeah. That
So
not
we have
much
different
more.
opinions of not showing up for the day. I think she should have shown up, but I guess Kurt, your
What was she
opinion
doing
is
at the time?
she's
Like,
stronger
Roseanne-
for it, like
Was
not
Roseanne-
bound down to those corporate fat cats.
Was Roseanne still on the air when she was asked to do a cartoon? Well, that she didn't even do, like, or like, is this
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Roseanne was still on the air.
Yeah,
Almost
no, that's-
absolutely.
Yeah, so she probably was just like, I don't know.
Might have been just
she could've
busy.
easily she could have done the voice for 12 episodes and called it a day. Still, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
probably wouldn't have been canceled if she had.
Yeah, and maybe she would have been able to like, I don't know, because Roseanne at her time was really funny. So
Yeah.
she probably could have done something with it, maybe.
At a time, Roseanne was funny.
Yeah,
That is-
nowadays, if you say
God, that's a
Roseanne's funny-
true. There's a lot of weight to that statement.
Yeah, and she kind of lost her mind.
Yeah, it's kind
over the
of
years.
it's weird.
You know.
Both her and John Goodman lost a bunch of weight, but John Goodman was able to hold on to his sanity. And it looks like Roseanne
John
just
Goodman is still beloved. So
yeah.
I mean, John
So-
Goodman is still beloved.
Yeah.
You know, so
And,
it's something where it's like, wow, this cartoon is it's something that she didn't even if she didn't even care about it, why should we?
So our next cartoon is actually from the Wayans brothers. It's called Waynehead, and it's about a 10-year-old boy who he has a disability, but I don't know if they ever go out and say what it is. He just wears like a weird steel boot. And
Oh.
but I could not for the life of you tell they never mention it. He just gets made fun of for it, and he's got a steel boot. He has a foot. It's not a fake foot, but it is a pivotal part of the show.
I thought he just had fluid on the brain, and that explained his abnormally large head. I
He
thought
did
that
have a
was,
big
like, his
head,
thing.
but do you think it was like a double thing? He had a big water head, and then also something's wrong with his foot.
I don't know. That head looks like you would hear a lot of sloshing around if he was going.
They do make it a point to talk about his big ass head, and he even has a hat that can't fit on his head.
The Wayans brothers are interesting to me because I feel like Damon Wayans is the funniest one. If you ask my opinion, I think Damon Wayans he's the funniest one in the family to me. And then Marlon Wayans can be funny and stuff, and Shawn Wayans can be funny and stuff, but they have also put out a lot of garbage. So it's like it's and I feel like this cartoon is one of those things where it's not the worst thing they've ever done, but it's not the funniest thing either. I feel like it's mediocre. I'd say it's like a C tier.
Yeah.
I was going to say put it up there with Bobby's Ward. I think it's B because I think it's a show that people kind of remember. I think it's the same thing. If you show them a picture of Big Head Hill, people will recognize or be like, I vaguely remember this.
The
I don't think-
Wayans are like the Baldwins,
I
aren't
think
they?
so.
There's
I think-
so many of them.
I actually think you're right because it's a lot better than the dog cartoon on the C tier. So yeah, I think a B tier is fair.
Okay, so we hit this with a B tier. It's a lot about Manhattan and living life in Manhattan, which I can't relate to.
I'm
But
the only one that loses track of the Wayans brothers? The Wayans
No.
brother?
When Kurt was talking about them, I was like, which one does which?
I grew up on like movies like Major Payne and stuff like that. So like Damon Wayans was always the one I thought was really funny.
They even have a sister out now who does stand-up comedy, and she's like, I know you guys don't know who I am. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you know that. But she's like, we have more Wayans than you could ever think of. I'm like, damn. Because there are. Every other week you think there's, like somebody, you'll be like, the Wayans brothers presents. And like, which one? Which pair?
Yeah, there's like 15 of them. There's like so many Wayneses out there.
Wayneses. So the last one on our list, this one feels like it should go into the S tier just for the cavalcade of comedians that are in it. And also the animation is pretty solid for what it is. But Shorties Watching Shorties, I love this show.
Yeah, it to me, I definitely remember watching this when I was a kid because I was like obsessed with Comedy Central at that time. So I watched mostly everything on Comedy Central at that time, and I remember I was like, oh, the two guys who would argue about race on Tough Crowd are voicing babies on a cartoon. Hell yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, you have Mitch Hedberg stand up. I know Dane Cook was one. They even did some Stephen Lynch songs, I believe, at the height of his career. So it's like, and it's a great way to just get you into, like, new comedians that you wouldn't normally think to go out to. Because, I mean, I feel like everybody has, like, there are three comedians that they won't venture from because they're like, what if they have a different style? I'll watch anybody. I love stand-up.
Yeah. And to me, it's just like, it's a cartoon, so it's a good way to get kids into like, and they had a lot of legitimate stand-up represented on the show. Like, think about this. They were showing kids animated versions of like a Greg Giraldo bit and stuff like that.
Well,
where it's like,
I don't know if this one was considered a kid show. I know Patrice O'Neal's character goes out of his way to describe
kids who were maybe getting more into edgier stuff at the time and were like going over to Comedy Central.
Teenagers, something like that. That's probably true. I just remember that eventually, later in the plots, eventually the babies have their own subplots in between the showing of stuff, and like they were like they'd go to down to the Bronx or something.
Yeah, I want to say S tier because it has it has those elements to it. But if we're being honest, most people, if you say Shorties Watching Shorties, they probably won't have any recollection of it.
Yeah.
Or to me, I think A tier is probably the way to go.
That's safe. Yeah, A tier is probably the better one.
It's an S tier in my heart, but in actuality, it's an A.
But it's an A tier in real life. That's fair.
This was this show was basically the YouTube before YouTube.
Yeah, they're all over YouTube now.
It was basically you could watch 3 to 4 little stand-up bits and be done with it.
Yeah, it was fan animation of a stand-up bit on network television.
To me, it's like when Beavis and Butthead, although they like when they would watch music videos, but they weren't watching like animated versions of. They were just watching real music videos. But it was kind of like. But nowadays, people would discover stand up from like YouTube clips or like stuff like that. So like that's a good point.
Well, that seems to be the tier list. But I have to ask, Kurt, let's say you make it big or Netflix comes and knocks on your door and a coked out producer tells you, you know what? We love what you got. We're gonna make you an animated series. Do you have any idea of what kind of animated series? Would you run a camp or a Gravedale High School?
I would probably want to do a show kind of like a Life with Louie thing.
Okay.
About like, but it would be like, because I'm on the autism spectrum, I think I would want to explore something that's darker and
Okay.
maybe some dramatic undertones, but it would be a comedy, like a dark comedy about having autism and like a dysfunctional family type deal. Kind of like a Life with Louie or F is for Family, but it'd be like my spin on it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So what you're telling me, Kurt, is life is already full of its own, call it tragic comedy, to where you could just easily just make a cartoon based off of regular life, and it will probably be funny as shit.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you know what they
and
say, comedy is just tragedy plus time.
I would do the voice. Unlike Roseanne, I would do the.
Would you try to do little kid you, or would you try to maybe do what Bill Burr did and you're the dad and you have your kid?
I do the dad role because I don't know, the idea of voicing a child at my age, like I don't know how these voice actors that can do that, like
it's true.
It's incredible what they can do. I feel like I would be trying too hard to. I'd be all right. Remember before you went through puberty, what your voice sounded like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I definitely would want to see something like that. Maybe when the writer's strike is over, you can get something going.
I'll have to write the script for it. But yeah, that's something I've thought about, because it's like I feel like with the autism thing, unlike what you were talking about with the Wayne Head show, I would state what the disability is, and then like I would have the balls to make the show about.
It's,
you know what I mean?
Maybe they did mention it. I didn't watch an episode where they did, but you can clearly tell there's something physically wrong with that kid. You know, you don't look like that without a few issues. Mama definitely smoked with Dwayne in the womb, but yeah, they never go out and say what's wrong with him. But
it's a pretty good tier list. I would have
to say this was fun. We'll have to do more of these. Kurt, is there anything you'd like to plug of yourself?
You can follow me on Instagram at Kurt Ryan Comedy _. If you like memes about stand up, then I got you covered. If you're interested in following a meme account that makes memes about that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, this was good. Kurt, thank you for coming on our show. And if you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome. If you have an idea, you can shoot me a message anytime.
This was fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
This has been a Lughole podcast.